All right, so we are back. We are here Saturday afternoon hanging out at Double Nickel. We've got Tim here from Double Nickel. Tim, thank you so much for joining us. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, man, thanks for having me.
So I figure since we're actually doing this live in the room, kind of works out because New Jersey, one of the weird, I guess, kind of niche things that go on with breweries in New Jersey is you got to take a tour before you're really supposed to drink the beer. So we can kind of give everybody here like an audible tour of the brewery, walk through some of the stuff, get everybody up to date so that they can go on about their day, drinking some great Double Nickel beers like we've been doing. I got the Weekend Warrior in front of me now. As I mentioned earlier, we featured on an episode before and is also available at the Wells Fargo Center. So you can get it, Sixers games, Flyers games, the whole nine. It's my favorite one to get there now. So we'll start off, Double Nickel. What's behind the name?
So the name, the Tacony Bridge back in the day used to be a nickel each way. So it's pretty simple. The truck drivers just called it Double Nickel Bridge.
Oh,
Did I know that? Okay.
Yeah, I had no
like
idea.
that.
Really simple name.
That's a lot of the ones around here, especially I was talking to a friend of mine who's working on opening his own brewery and was going through names and stuff like that. And I said, a lot of them generally do have local ties or they're simply even named after like the town that they're in. So when we've done so many of these now, I'm much more interested in going to the ones where I can't tell right away what it is and then finding out that it still does have a cool local tie. So that's interesting. Like we talked about earlier, for anybody who missed it, like Jason had said, Jason comes from Wilmington, very easy to get to. I mentioned for all our Philadelphia people, right over to Coney Palmyra, so very easy to get to for Delaware, PA, New Jersey, and all of that. So, as far as the beers are concerned, my guess is it's the Vienna Lager. What would be the flagship beer of Double Nickel?
100% the Vienna Lager is the flagship. It's easy drinking. It's nothing too powerful. It's got a lot of flavor, but nothing overbearing. A lot of people that come here with their buddies that don't really drink craft beer will get a Vienna Lager and end up having a good time,
Yeah, I had mentioned earlier, I don't know if this will make sense to you being a guy that really knows the beer, but when I was younger, before I really got into craft beer, but we were trying to stop drinking just all the generic light beer, I drank a decent amount of Yingling, and that was like the only lager I knew. And eventually, it lagers just started not agreeing with me anymore. But Double Nickel was the first lager that I had that I was like, oh my god, like this is easy to drink. It doesn't taste like as dark as a lot of lagers. And it's got this like nice kind of vanilla aftertaste that kind of evens it out.
Yeah,
so like it's long time been a very favorite of mine for like one that I can drink a few very easily.
Oh yeah, it's definitely easy drinking. It's a little malty, like on the sweet side. But like some people will see the color. It's like a nice amber color and be like, oh, it's too dark. But it drinks way lighter than it looks.
Yeah,
it's a little crisper than like a Yingling would be. It's a fan favorite around here.
So after the Vienna, is there any other one that you feel is like kind of maybe like gaining speed, catching up to it?
Well, right now like the haze craze is everything. So we don't really have a flagship like hazy beer, but we're trying to like come out with new recipes and continually like change. You want to get stale. But we just came out with, because we just started distributing in California, so we just got a hazy IPA came out called Coast to Coast. It's a nice hazy, little sweet, but not too bitter. Another easy, it's a little high on the ABV. It comes in a tulip glass, but it's really good.
So you mentioned the West Coast. One of the last time I was here, which is when I started the process of seeing if we could do this episode here, was I came here the day that you released the Animal Style, which is your West Coast IPA with the in-and-out artwork. It's the best West Coast IPA I've ever had, easily.
Dude, it's the best West Coast I had in a long time. Like it's so good. It's like right what it should be. You can see right through the glass. It's awesome. There's so much flavor.
It's so good. So with a beer like that, or with a lot of the beers, I don't know if it's just random or if there's generally a process, but do you decide, okay, we're gonna brew a West Coast IPA, what's something we associate with the West Coast to come up with the name? Or for one like that, for example, is it something where you're like, man, like I love In-N-Out Burger, I love Animal Style. What if we brewed a West Coast IPA? Like, which one kind of inspires the other?
So you drink the beer, then you name it. Always goes that way. You don't want to name it something and then it didn't taste like exactly like I thought it was gonna. But Animal Style kind of goes perfect with that beer.
Okay, so beer, and then you get the name from drinking it, tasting it. It comes to you like that.
It's the best part of it.
Fair enough. That makes a lot of sense.
It just makes me sad that after enjoying that delicious beer that I cannot get In-N-Out. That's the only bad thing about
it is kind of a tease, a little bit. I'm not mad because the beer was that good, but like.
I'm not making any promises, but we're working on it.
Okay. You heard it here first. So we were talking to you. We've been telling a lot of people we're super excited. This year we're going to be featured on the podcast stage at the Atlantic City Beer and Music Festival. We've been longtime patrons of it. It's easily the best beer fest I've ever been to. Been to several different ones. From the brewery side, can you speak to, like what breweries look to gain from going to an event like that? What the people who haven't been to one before that maybe we can convince to show up can expect in an event like that from the brewery aspect, from the beer aspect, talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, absolutely. So there's multiple things you try to gain from it. Like one, they hand out awards, and like you said, it's a pretty big beer festival. So it was last year or the year before, we won Best Lager with the Vienna Lager. And so we had like a banner up, and people would come in and just say, let me get the beer that won an award. So everything about that whole day is drawing in people. Another thing you look for, we distribute all around New Jersey, so we're pretty well known in Jersey, but people come from all over to drink at the AC Beer Fest. So we want either new clientele, or we want to make our name more of a household name where, like, I saw that I had a couple of the beers and now I see it at the store, I'm going to just grab it. It's like, make it their beer, like they're going to drink it over and over instead of going and trying something else.
So you do see, I think we've asked some of the other breweries since we started talking about the beer fest, you do see a decent amount of like success there translating into your tap room?
Yes, 100%. Yeah, all the time.
That's awesome to hear. You mentioned the Vienna Lager winning an award at AC Beer Fest. Does the Vienna Lager have like other awards, or do any of the other beers have other awards to your knowledge?
Yeah.
I know there's like Great American Beer Fest and...
Yeah, so didn't win at GABF or World Beer Cup, but we won a bunch of there's a lot of local ones in Jersey, and some will be like just based off like certain styles of beer. Like AC Beer Fest has different categories. Some beer fests are just for like a hazy IPA or something like that.
Right.
I don't know off the top of my head the ones we won, but like the biggest one would be the lager at the AC Beer Fest. It also brought in the most people.
You also mentioned that you work with like a mobile canning company. So we talk a lot about, especially with what we do, like trying to collaborate between breweries and stuff. So can you talk a little bit about that and just like the experience of working with different breweries and being able to get, beers from local breweries like out, giving them the ability to can is getting the word out to more people about it who don't necessarily just go to the tap room and taste. It gives them the ability to bring it home, to enjoy it in a different environment. Can you talk about that a little bit?
Yeah, so, as you can tell, the last 3 to 5 years, beer has moved away from the bottle and into cans. You go to a beer store, it's mostly cans now. So what I do is I work for a company, it's called Ironheart Canning, and we have mobile lines from New Hampshire to Florida. And so I work mostly out of Philly and Baltimore. So we can fit all of our equipment. It's like a 16-foot box truck. We'll show up to a brewery, set up, and just package whatever they want. Sometimes we'll do up to 3, 4, even 5 different beers in a day. Most of them are labeled now, so it's easy. You don't gotta worry about what cans you have. You just have bright cans and then label it at the end. But most of the breweries we go to are either new or too small to have their own packaging equipment, or just can't afford it right now. So our goal is to help them get their name out. And all the artwork on cans is advertising. Can is a mini billboard. So the more you get it out, the more you're able to distribute, the bigger you can grow. So our goal is to get them to the point where they can afford their own equipment themselves and grow bigger.
I also know, I believe this year, I think you've done it for at least 2 to 3 years now, maybe longer, the Friendsgiving Beer, which is like a collaboration beer with other breweries.
Yeah.
How does an idea like that start? Does that stem from one brewery reaching out to others, or is it...
Yeah, so that's been a couple years now. I don't know who originally started it, but usually they'll reach out. We'll reach out to somebody, or somebody will reach out to us. I'm like, hey, we have an idea for, may not even be what style of beer, but hey, let's do something for Thanksgiving together, or along those lines. And then they'll just kind of collaborate. And like Drew, our head brewer, and he's great at recipe development. He's awesome at it. And most the breweries that are local here are good at it as well. So when you get all those guys in the same room, they just come up with something great. Friendsgiving sells out in a week every time. People come in 2 weeks afterwards expecting to be here, and it's not.
yeah, this year's was a favorite of mine. I remember trying it last year and being like, this is cool. Like, I like the idea. I forget all the breweries that were involved, but like that's what drew me to it, was because it was all breweries that I knew. And I was like, okay. But then this year, like I'm pretty sure I drank at least an entire 4-pack just on Thanksgiving alone. Was a big fan of that. The other thing we like to ask, obviously, like it's filling up in here right now. It's a Saturday afternoon. This is probably the biggest room we've been in other than Victory. This is bigger than that even, but that would probably be 1 and 2. You guys have a lot of stuff going on just on a regular day. You've got room for Bago. I saw back there, there's like a lounge area with like video games. There's a private event upstairs. I think there's maybe another one back there. You've got the outside. I know there's usually food trucks, so just on a regular day, there's enough to do in here to satisfy, anyone, whatever they're looking for. If they have to be able to bring their kids with them, if it's just younger people hanging out, older people hanging out, obviously on top of the great beers. But as far as like scheduled events, you guys have anything that goes on that you schedule, like a quizzo or like any kind of tournaments or events? I also saw the dog posters in the window.
Yeah, that was last week. We had like an adoption event. So the name of the shelter is on the flyers. But yeah, they basically did like a dating profile for each dog and hung it up.
It's awesome.
And then it was last Wednesday, so it was a big adoption thing. A bunch of dogs got adopted. During the week, we have a Bago League. So that's like Tuesday, Wednesdays during the week. And then the upstairs and the back room are both available to rent out. The back room, the lounge, has Nintendo 64 in there, and a bunch of games. And we got Bago up there. Yeah, outside in the summer is amazing. It's a little cold right now, but yeah, in the summer, almost every other day there's a food truck here. It's just in winter it's hard to get them to come out.
And then obviously, like we said, you guys will be at the Atlantic City Beer and Music Festival, April 3rd and 4th. So if you go there, they've got the big bridge kind of decal with their logo. You can't miss them. They're usually right in the middle. Very hard to miss. And obviously tons of great beers. So we look forward to being there. Looking forward to seeing you guys there, drinking some more beers, and also hanging around here today and drinking some more of these. So Tim, thank you again for coming on. We appreciate it. Really great conversation. Learned a lot. And thanks, man. Cheers.
Yeah, cool. Thanks for having me, guys. Cheers.
We'll be right back after this, and we will wrap up the episode talking about